The Steam Summer Sale has just kicked off and it is wild. Upwards to 75% off of a ton of games that I honestly didn't think we would be seeing on sale this fast or this drastically. With so many games to choose from, it's hard to really narrow down the choices. I mean, there's only so many times I can buy The Witcher 3 for 66% off before I just want Cyberpunk to come out. In this video today, we're going to cover my list for 10 of the best games on sale right now for Steam's 2020 summer sale. This list was pretty brutal to curate as there are so many amazing games on sale right now, so you can't really go wrong with anything you choose. My last note before diving in on this list is that I'll be posting a link to purchase each game through Fanatical with my associated partner tag that helps support the channel. But Fanatical is usually slow to match the prices of Steam, so please, by all means, purchase through Steam if Steam has the better price. If you do decide to purchase through Fanatical, it's a verified reseller and you'll be getting a Steam code that you immediately input into Steam. No third-party BS and no shady marketplace action, but let's get started. The first game on our list is one that I've been covering on the channel since its inception, well, minus the prank calls, and that is Total War Warhammer 2. This game has been the cornerstone of my gaming since Total War Warhammer 1 came out back in 2016, and it continues to consume so much of my time. If you've even heard of Warhammer, then you owe it to yourself to see the fantasy setting brought to life in a spectacular display of fantastical dragon breath attacks and disgustingly overweight goblins riding chariots while heckling you. From the High Elves to the Skaven, or Ratmen, there is a specific race or culture that really fits the playstyle of any RTS gamer. The nice thing about Total War Warhammer 2 is that it combines that campaign map style of, say, Civilization, albeit more watered down, with the real-time strategy elements of a mass battlefield. If you're familiar with the Total War series, you should be right at home. Warhammer 2 also comes with a host of DLCs that accompany it, but the biggest recommendation to you, if you decide to pick it up, is focus on getting the first game so that you can play the Mortal Empires mode. This will enable you to conquer the entire map, not just the map that comes in Total War Warhammer 2. Bannerlord Gaming did an incredible review of the game covering everything from the sound to each DLC that he recommends. I'm going to link that in the description as well as the comments, so please check that out if this game has piqued your interest. If you do end up picking it up, check out my beginner's guide linked in the upper right corner to help get your feet wet with the base mechanics as well as combat. Number 9 is another new staple of the channel in Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. Having recently hit early access at the end of March, Bannerlord offers an insane amount of replayability and gameplay in a pretty small form package. If you're a fan of Mount & Blade Warband, then you already know what you're getting yourself into. We need to address this up front though. The game is in early access, and as thus, there are a number of bugs that limit a lot of the game, and there is still a good deal of content missing. If that bothers you, skip ahead. But I've logged over 300 hours of gameplay in the first month and a half alone because I'm so addicted to the riveting combat and the sandbox style of creating my own kingdom. Become a mercenary, earning money and renown as nations battle each other, or become a vassal of said nations, controlling castles and cities while sieging those of your enemies. What I love about Bannerlord is the combination of RPG elements and Mordhau-esque combat. You control a minor clan that eventually can grow to lead massive armies across the map of Coloradia. From small skirmishes with bandits to sieges with over 1,000 troops on each side, Bannerlord has kept me engaged since its launch. I think one of the biggest things for me is that the game lends itself to a narrative that you create for yourself with each playthrough. I have one character that is focusing on being a chivalrous knight, while the other is a horse archer in the same vein as the traditions of the Hunnic tribes. It's entirely up to you. With over 78 patches under its belt, the developers are also very attentive to the community and roll out a number of patches, content additions, and fixes that the people clamor for across the forums and Reddit. I've truly enjoyed my time with Bannerlord, and I can't wait for more patches and additions to the game in the many months to come. Number 8 brings us away from the world of fantasy and into one of the most beloved sci-fi franchises of all time. Battlefield Earth. No, just kidding. I mean Star Wars. Jedi Fallen Order came out just last holiday season and it was an immediate hit. It's probably one of the better Star Wars games to come out in the last decade, and the best thing about it is that it's an EA title without any DLC, which is a sentence I never thought I'd be able to say out loud. In fact, it actually just got a small little FLC, adding a lightsaber color and a fun game mode to the game. Fallen Order harkens back to the time of the old Jedi Knight series, such as Outcast 2 and Jedi Academy. but with a bit more of a linear plotline this time around. It's an action-adventure game with limited RPG elements that borrows some of the challenging difficulty curve from any of the Dark Souls series of games, albeit a little less challenging than those. I played through the game at max difficulty, and it was a brutal but enjoyable experience, with the same system of death and recovering your body to regain your souls, or experience in this case, lest you lose them forever if you die again. The kills are overly satisfying and the lightsaber play is beautiful, but I will say that the game's responsiveness tends to be a little sluggish because it lacks that polished animation canceling and split-second reaction that any of the Soulsborne games sport, but it is still incredible nonetheless. You play as Cal Kestis, one of the last remaining Jedi, as you try to piece together portions of your past and heal your connection to the Force. I don't want to spoil any of the story, but I found it to be a great journey through a side of the Star Wars universe I had missed in the more recent years of gaming. Our 7th entry is our first-person shooter, but certainly not our last. Titanfall 2, developed by Respawn Entertainment, the same people that brought you both Apex Legends and the aforementioned Jedi Fallen Order, is a no-holds-barred eye-boner extravaganza of parkour and mecha anime all rolled into one first-person shooter. If you like Titanfall 1, you'll love the second one, as it takes all the quirks of the first one and just streamlines them into a much better experience. Arguably one of the older games on this list, it still holds up very well graphically and mechanically. Dabbling with the Z-axis has always been a tumultuous journey for first-person shooters, but it is one of the biggest hallmarks of Titanfall. Don't expect to play a game where you're strategically peeking around corners and tactically doing tandem sniper shots. Nay, instead, expect to run the length of a wall before slide tackling a window to unload all of your clip into a room of enemies before leaping out the other side of the building while summoning your Titan into place. After sliding up the ladder into your Titan, you light a cigarette, throw a thumbs up, and a synthesizer solo begins to wail as you light up everything in your path. Okay, maybe not that last part exactly, but still, the game is very fast-paced and intense in a very refreshing way. With a fun progression system and an active multiplayer, it's one of the better sub-$10 games on Steam right now. In addition, it's probably one of the best stories in a first-person shooter that I've played in recent years that locked me in for the entire ride without feeling trite or making me slam the escape button to skip cinematics. You can't go wrong with Titanfall 2. Grab your Fender Squire and put your leg up on your Fender Frontman amp. It's time to shred some metal with our 6th entry in Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal is the sequel to Doom's 2016 installment, and it is one of the best games to come out this year. You play the Doom guy once more as you seek to end the massive hell invasion on Earth, traveling to and from Mars as well as the other planets. It's a weird day when we say that a Doom game has a great storyline, but these two games pull it off. The nice thing is that you don't need to have played Doom 2016 to really enjoy Doom Eternal to the fullest. There's plenty of overlapping fluff to fill in the gaps, but the gameplay is just buttery smooth and fantastic. For as gorgeous as this game is, it's extremely well optimized and runs at a shockingly high FPS for, again, how amazing it looks. If Titanfall was fast-paced, this game is impossibly fast-paced by comparison. I really encourage you to test yourself and play this game at a high difficulty if you do pick it up. It can force you to play some encounters over and over and over, but finally slam dunking an arena by curb stomping an imp and slamming your fist into a Cacodemon's eye is brutally satisfying, and it will send an arm pump into the air followed by a churlish scream of victory every time. With the RPG elements spread throughout the game that allow you to upgrade your favorite guns as well as your suit to match your playstyle, there's plenty of ways to approach every avenue of Doom in a way that best fits what you want. Don't expect to be plugging hundreds of hours into Doom's story, but the ability to play randomly generated missions, fight against other players, and complete the extremely hard challenge levels will keep you coming back to this game for months, even if only to play a few missions here and there. Moving back to the RPGs, number 5 goes to Divinity Original Sin 2, another instant classic on this list that has reimagined the RPG genre in a new and exciting way. The sequel to Divinity Original Sin, the second installment in the series brings a streamlined combat system, an engaging story, a fully voice-acted campaign, including a posh British narrator, and a character creation system centered around the companions you encounter in the game. You can choose to create a custom character of your choosing, or select any of the pre-generated ones, swapping their abilities and general appearance, but taking on their backstory. This provides a lot of interesting ways to play the game, as the pre-generated ones have special dialogue and gameplay that are unique to that character. And if you don't want to choose any of those pre-generated characters, you can actually encounter them in the game and have them be companions, so you'll still be able to get a hint of what their story is about. You play as a being known as a sorcerer, an individual who can tap into a special resource known as the Source. Through this, you become something altogether different than your peers, as you find out the game's story is geared towards a massive chess game with the gods. With an engaging turn-based combat system, you will find that every encounter is played differently depending on your party's skills and what you want to take advantage of. You can electrify pools of water to shock enemies standing within, or light oil slicks on fire using explosive spells. The amount of interactive elements to the environment is insane, and is a truly compelling portion of the game. Coupled with amazing writing and brilliant voice acting portrayed by smug lizards and overly sarcastic undead characters, you'll laugh and cry your way through Divinity Original Sin 2. It's also the perfect game to play while we wait for Baldur's Gate 3 to hit early access sometime in August of this year. Larian Studios, the creators of both games, have shared that Baldur's Gate will borrow a good deal of elements from Divinity, intermixing tons of 5th edition D&D rules into the core of the game. Either way, Divinity is a must-have for any RPG fan. Number 4 is Dead Cells, a game that I think is on almost everyone's wish list and floats just under the radar, but is an absolutely incredible game. Available on both the Switch and PC, it's rendered in that newfangled retro style of 16-bit Metroidvania that has been all the rage these days, and deservedly so for Dead Cells. The game starts off rather enigmatically, and you are an individual who captures the essence of the enemies you defeat to help upgrade your character, progressing through the same portions of the game until you can advance a specific skill or ability, which opens up a whole new map. But just like any roguelite, it is an unapologetically difficult game, because if you die, you lose every item and any of the upgrade currency that you've generated. This is one of those games I strongly recommend using a controller for and mastering the controls to pull off split-second dodge rolls or leap attacks. It's just so satisfying. The game is constantly evolving with seasonal updates to the game that add more content as well as enemies, and with each new set of enemies, it's a set of challenges to now overcome. This game and Blasphemous fall into a similar category of grossly underappreciated games with a very simple and addicting playstyle. What I love so much about Dead Cells, whether on PC or Switch, is that it's a game I can come back to or plug a minimal amount of time into per game session to get a lot of fun out of the game. If you're a fan of Hollow Knight or any game in a similar vein, you owe it to yourself to give Dead Cells a try. From the art to the soundtrack, it's a charming game that will always be a part of your rotation. Number 3 is Hunt Showdown, and it has been a recent obsession of mine. If you're into atmospheric games with a solid horror twist, while also being a fresh spin-off of something akin to a battle royale, go no further. Hunt Showdown is set in the late 1800s, where zombies and a number of abhorrent creatures have infested the bayou. You are part of a bloodline of hunters that, hunts bounties on particularly gruesome abominations. But there's a catch. Any match you jump into has up to 12 other players on the map vying for the same bounties. So whether you're playing solo or in a team of duos or trios, you have to find your way to your target while avoiding any of the myriad of terrifying things on the map that can give away your position. And you don't have any idea as far as how many players are on the map, how many players are left, and how many players are dead or alive. It's a very, very intense game. That's the thing, the sound design in this game is insane. From the extreme thunder of a shotgun or the loud snap of a rifle round ripping by your head, this game has to be played with headphones on so you can pinpoint the sounds across the map, as well as footsteps around you, twigs snapping, dogs barking at passersby. It's by no means fast-paced at all, but the gunfights have been some of the most intense ones I've ever had in any shooter to date. Also, I'm an extremely jumpy person, so I can't tell you how many times I've just wailed because a crow just gently cooed at me, or freaked myself out by looking at my own shadow. The game is exhilarating in so many ways and is an absolute blast to play with friends. I've owned the game for a little over 2 weeks now, and I've plugged just shy of 100 hours into it to give you an idea of just how addicting the gameplay is. Our second place slot goes to the entire Dark Souls series, or rather the From Software series, as there are so many amazing games on sale through the umbrella of this company. I've referenced the Soulsborne games plenty of times throughout this video, but I'd be remiss if I didn't focus on them for a spot on this list, as they have been some of the best games in my game library since the launch of Demon's Souls a full decade ago. If you haven't touched a Dark Souls game up to this point, you absolutely need to. They're extremely challenging, with a dark atmospheric setting that just drips grimdark. In addition to the Dark Souls series, we also get Sekiro as part of this sale as well. Sekiro just won Game of the Year in 2019, and it's a slight departure from the Dark Souls narrative, but a great evolution of a coveted franchise. If you're looking for a hard action-adventure game with rich RPG elements, then the Soulsborne series is an immediate home run. What's best is that by playing the Dark Souls games, you will intrinsically become a better gamer, just by the nature of getting better at a game that is designed to make it harder at every turn. Number 1 on our list, and the game I think that everyone should pick up, is Disco Elysium. Launching around holiday season of 2019, it is probably one of the most original RPGs I've ever played in a beautifully dystopic future with a gameplay system that is truly unique. You play as a detective with amnesia, spending your time trying to piece together every scrap about yourself and your personality. The game eschews the standard combat system that we get in other RPGs and goes for a conversation system that allows you to solve or fail the many conflicts that you'll come across. Oftentimes, you even end up having conversations with yourself and the different parts of your personality that try to talk you through scenarios. Larian Studios was actually brought in to consult on certain elements of Disco Elysium, lending their expertise to some of the mechanics, which in turn bled back into Larian, the influence apparent in Baldur's Gate 3. I can't talk much about the story because the game is geared towards you knowing nothing about walking into it, but I can promise you that you'll find a ton of moments where you're deliberating with yourself about how to answer an issue brought up in the game by yourself. It's just such a satisfying game to play that will engage your mind far more than anything else on this list. It's definitely one that I think everyone should play at least once. With that, it brings our list to a close. So I hope this helps you get some idea for games on the Steam Summer Sale that you might want to take a look at. And there are so many to choose from, but you really can't go wrong with anything presented here today. Go ahead and let me know in the comments of some of the games you're definitely picking up for yourself, or ones that shouldn't be passed up on, or even ones that you're buying for friends because you enjoyed them so much. If you enjoyed this type of content, please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you do subscribe, click that little bell icon to turn on all notifications to get clued in on when I do game giveaways, live streams, or any of my guides or lore videos I post on the channel. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one, and take care.